The Limit Breakers video on Baldur's Gate 3 had some nifty tips to toy around with, and my favorite was abusing Monk's Step of the Wind mechanic, which enables infinite jumping in order to traverse long distances in a single turn. When taking this into account, a monk's mobility in combat is virtually limitless, especially in circumstances when a monk can nullify attacks of opportunity. Used properly, the effective movement speed of a monk using Step of the Wind becomes a function of their modified ground movement speed, divided by 3 and then multiplied by their jump distance. Even casual use of this property allows for insane and probably unrealistic speeds to be generated. And when you think about what is actually happening by the book, it begins to closely resemble the peasant railgun thought experiment, in which a long line of villagers can ready an action to pass an object, and in so doing, move an item faster than the speed of sound over any distance, so long as there are enough peasants. Monk has something of a reputation in D&D for being weak and not very useful, but in Baldur's Gate 3, the monk's most obvious advantage is its mobility above all else. In tabletop, Monk can literally run up walls and other surfaces, although, since that's not feasible with the game's design, Step of the Wind takes the place of those more flavorful and imaginative effects by granting absurd speed, whether intentionally or not. A round in D&D is defined as 6 seconds of time, which means that the total speed of any character becomes the movement that they can travel in one round, times 600 to convert to hours, divided by 1000 to convert to kilometers. Or in short, divide it by 1.66 repeating or multiply it by 0.6. With a base movement speed of 9 meters per round, the average character can move 5.4 kilometers or 3.3 miles per hour, which is about right. D&D's recommended normal travel time is 24 miles per day, which assumes 8 hours of moving at 3 miles per hour, which is reasonable with a small party that doesn't need to pitch a fortified camp. Sprinting doubles this, obviously, and while Baldur's Gate doesn't impose any restrictions for abusing dash, by the book you can move 30 miles per day at a passive perception penalty. However, by stacking beneficial passive effects such as unarmored movement and equipment buffs, my monk's base speed is 21 meters, meaning that he can walk faster than most creatures can dash, and when he dashes, he can move 25.6 kilometers or 15.9 miles per hour. For context, the Olympic world record for sprinting speed is 44 kilometers or 27 miles per hour, so this is still realistic. But we're capable of using Step of the Wind and dashing on the same turn, to stack their effects. So long as we use Step of the Wind first, since it overrides the dash effect if used second. Perhaps thankfully, Larian coded the stacking of these actions sensibly, so that the applied doubling of movement speed from dash and step are additive rather than multiplicative. The added value is your base speed plus bonuses from equipment and haste without factoring in bonuses from dash or step. Taking this to its logical conclusion, we can cast haste in order to not only increase our movement speed, but also double the amount of actions taken per turn. Use Step of the Wind and then double dash and have an effective movement speed of 72 kilometers or 44 miles per hour. But why stop there? Jumping technically only costs 3 meters of movement speed. Normally it takes a bonus action so that you can only do it once. By abusing the properties of Step of the Wind, we can ignore the bonus action cost and jump as many times as we want per turn. Our total movement speed becomes divided by 3 and multiplied by our effective jump range. So let's get all our ducks in a row, shall we? We'll stack all of the bonuses that we can find and put them all into a single burst of speed. This list probably isn't every stack to movement speed that you can make, but it will be in the general ballpark. Right off the bat, I am slightly suboptimal, as I'm using a Dragonborn with a 9 meter base movement speed. Wood Elves can manage 10.5, rounded to 11 in their tooltips. We'll put a pin in that for later. Monk's unarmored movement provides 3 meters of movement speed when not wearing armor or a shield. The mobile feat provides 3 meters of movement speed. At level 6, unarmored movement is upgraded to 4.5 meters. The athlete feat increases our jump range by 50%. At level 9, advanced unarmored movement provides an additional 6 meters of jump range. At level 10, unarmored movement is further upgraded to 6 meters of bonus movement speed. The legendary spear Nyrolna grants 3 meters of movement speed and jump range. The Swiresy shoes provide 1.5 meters of jump range. The Graceful Cloth provides 1.5 meters of jump range without violating the unarmored movement. Long Strider provides 3 meters of movement speed until long rest. The Helm of Haste provides 3 stacks of momentum for the first turn of combat, effectively 4.5 meters of movement speed for 1 turn. The Spurred Band provides 1 stack of momentum whenever the wearer starts their turn with less than 50% health, and this stacks with the Helm of Haste, bringing the momentum boost to 6 meters. We drink an Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength to set our strength to 27, giving us the highest easily achievable base jump range. We drink a Potion of Glorious Vaulting to triple that jump range. And finally, we cast Haste to give us increased movement speed and an additional action. Now all we have to do is get into a fight. Step of the Wind to double our movement speed and remove restrictions on jumping. Dash, dash again due to haste, and our movement speed is now 156 meters. On its own, this is 93.6 kilometers or 58 miles per hour, meaning that we're now running alongside traffic on a good day on the open highway. On the merging lane, at least. By jumping max range each time, we can divide the number by 3 and then multiply it by our jump range of 68 meters, which comes out to 3,536 meters per turn, or 2,121.6 kilometers, or 1,318 miles per hour. For reference, the baseline speed of sound at 1 atmosphere and 293 degrees Kelvin is 767.2 miles per hour, and we have just broken the sound barrier. By multiclassing into Rogue, I could use Cunning Action Dash as well as Step of the Wind, but due to losing 6 meters of jump range from Monk level 9 and additional movement speed from Monk level 10, the math shakes out slower. Because of the level cap of level 12, it's not possible to acquire these very important bonuses while also gaining a second bonus action from Fast Hands. If you're multiclassing into Rogue, you can't just go 3 levels for Fast Hands, as there are important movement bonuses from 2 feats, which are only granted at levels 4 and 8 in the same class. Because of the way feats are distributed, it's inconvenient to multiclass less than 4 levels into anything. You know what? I think I have a couple Wood Elves lying around. Let's run these numbers again. I present to you Monk Halsin, in all his horribly glitched glory. Just sitting around with item buffs and Long Strider, we're up to 26 meters a turn. Here we go. We'll just eat some fall damage real quick to get that last stack of momentum. 162 meters per turn, 97 kilometers or 60 miles per hour. With jumps factored in, 2,203 kilometers per hour or 1,369 miles per hour. This is the theoretical maximum that I can test. There's a pair of shoes that I don't have that provide 3 meters of movement speed when injured, but this comes at the cost of the Swiresy shoe's 1.5 meters jump range. As near as I can tell, the bonus jump range of the Swiresy shoes does not get tripled by the Potion of Glorious Vaulting and is therefore applied at a flat rate. By making this trade-off, we can reach a movement speed of 174 meters per turn with a jump range of 66.5 rather than 68. Leading to an overall speed of 2,314.2 kilometers or 1,437 miles per hour. Still not quite cracking Mach 2, but we're getting there. By adding on Grat's Ring for another 3 meters of movement speed, we can bring our movement speed up to 186, resulting in 2,473 kilometers or 1,537 miles per hour. And there it is, Mach 2. Astral Gravity does not affect these numbers. I managed to load an old save where I could access the astral plane, and the game treats Astral Gravity, Enhanced Jump, and Potion of Glorious Vaulting as the same effect, with Astral Gravity overriding all others. By my math, if it had stacked additively, similar to double dashing, we would have been approaching Mach 5. Now, situations like this are a bit metagamey, and many can say that it's not in the spirit of D&D to hyperstack a monk like this. But I personally really like the mental concept of a monk quaffing a potion, getting hit with haste, and then firing themselves across the countryside like bad news. When dealing with hasted characters like this, it's also important to keep in mind the laws of gravity. Fundamentally, you can't run faster than 9.8 meters per second because you start to outpace gravity and you can no longer make sufficient contact with the ground to generate additional thrust. This is a problem faced by Olympic sprinters as well. Past a certain threshold of speed, they begin to spend the majority of their time not touching the ground. Downforce is an important factor for racing vehicles because of this as well, because without it, cars would just start to lose traction and drift out of control. This is why, in my mind, Step of the Wind is the ability to condense air into a traction surface for the purposes of running at speeds normally not possible, in which case, it's strange that it's not limited to the 4 elements monks, but monks have it rough enough as it is without further separating their toolbox. Of course, this speed is only sustainable for 10 turns, or 1 minute of real time, as that's the duration of both Haste and Potion of Glorious Vaulting. Momentum lasts even shorter and gets weaker every turn. The monk will then be mostly out of key due to having to use Step of the Wind 10 times and also suffering from lethargy, which, yeah, that's about right. More practically, if we're just observing a perfectly normal level 10 monk without stacking things like haste, elixirs, or potions, we activate Step of the Wind once to get a movement speed of 42 meters, and then we use that with a 16-meter jump range to move up to 224 meters per round to move 134.4 kilometers or 83.5 miles per hour. Not quite enough to get a speeding ticket or time travel, but definitely more than enough to escape any situation safely. By utilizing the properties of the mobile feat so that we can attack enemies and jump away without prompting an attack of opportunity, we can be an absolute menace, zipping in to deal some damage and then getting the hell out, leaving Astarion defend for himself. Fights with objectives or environmental opportunities are crushed by a monk using Step to bounce off the walls like a rubber ball. I had this entire video shot, voiced, edited, done, and rendered, and I sat on it for a week because for some reason, I prefer to release these videos on Wednesdays. On Monday night, I sat restless in bed, unable to sleep, and I went over the math again in my head. That's when I remembered 9 plus 3 equals 12. It had skipped my mind because I only had a level 10 character to test with, but I had assumed that it wouldn't matter because unarmored movement at level 10 can't be taken at the same time as fast hands. But that's just a 1.5 meter increase. Over 4 multiplications, just 6 extra meters. The 6 meters of jump range from level 9 was super important, and if you could get that far, you'd already have the 2 feats we'd need, so we wouldn't need to spec Rogue to 4. It was possible to multiclass Rogue for an additional cunning action. It would just only be possible at the very end of the game. I just had this nibbling feeling in the back of my brain that I could do better. And that's when I decided to stop being dumb and to start being scum. Let's take this to laboratory conditions. By cheating. For what it's worth, the additional bonus action didn't help at all. I was actually completely right, just not for the reasons I thought I was. There seems to be some kind of coding block that prevents stacking 4 dash actions. 3 is fine, I guess, but 4 is too many. But since I was already here and went through the trouble of learning the basics of Cheat Engine, I scoured the wiki for additional bonuses, and I had not only missed the Corvid charm for another 1.5 meters of jump range, but also the most potent source of them all, the Martial Exertion Gloves. Unlike a dash action, the Martial Exertion Gloves provide a true doubling of movement speed, which factors in all other sources. When used last, the effect is gargantuan. By stacking all passive and active buffs together and then using the gloves, we can reach a per-turn movement speed of 372 meters, resulting in a total speed of 5,059 kilometers per hour, or 3,143 miles per hour. That's Mach 4. It only lasts for 1 turn, and it can only be done once per short rest. but I would be shocked if we can milk anything more out of this.